they're going to take their cues from Joe Rogan if they've listened to Joe Rogan for the last 12 months for 4 hours a day when he finally starts to talk about politics in September or October. They're not going to do it because they saw some ad by the Democratic Party in October.
And that's why you actually hit the nail on the head as to why Rogan has really gotten under my skin and I've really been going after him, is because he did a bait and switch.
Kyle Kulinski showed up on Brian Tyler Cohen's show to break down just how much better the Republican Party is at messaging compared to the Democratic Party, and how fired up Kyle Kulinski is over Joe Rogan's full-blown heel turn to MAGA. We're about to dive into these clips from Kyle Kulinski and Brian Tyler Cohen, and I'll be jumping in with my own takes along the way. This one's loaded. Let's get into it.
He was, for a very long time, left-coded, and he would talk about left-wing issues. And then over time, he ended up flipping and endorsing Trump. And he knows that Trump massively cut taxes for the wealthy and corporations. He knows that we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs under Trump. He knows that Trump presided over a net loss of 2.9 million jobs. He knows that 2.3 million people lost health insurance under him. He knows he appointed more Wall Street CEOs and billionaires than any president in history. He knows he filled the NLRB with union busters. He knows that his labor department stiffed 8 million workers of overtime pay. And I think that's what frustrates me, is exactly what you described, which is he was a cultural podcaster first, and just like your everyman first. But then effectively, he basically sane washed the right and made it seem like, oh, they're the down to earth ones. They're the ones who are more realistic and more like you and understand you. And I think people are in for a really, really rude awakening about that when they realize your wages aren't going up, you're not getting better health care, more jobs are going to be outsourced, and it's going to be more tax cuts for the rich, and it's going to be a disaster.
Well, what would you attribute that to? Because, would you say it's because these guys are just wealthy and Republicans are just better for wealthy people? And of course, they have to use culture wars as a distraction so that people don't pay attention to their economic agenda. Or B, do you think that he was a perpetrator or a victim of this whole distraction campaign where Republicans made the entire election basically a referendum on a talking point that didn't exist in practice? This idea that Kamala Harris's agenda was gender reassignment surgeries among trans inmates in prison, something that came about in 2019 and that she's disavowed since then. And so do you think that for him, this is something, again, do you think that he is somebody who knew about this and was like, okay, I want a better economic agenda, so I'm going to keep pushing this along with the other people at the top of the Republican Party who know better, but fuck it, we'll just keep pushing it anyway? Or do you think that he was actually a victim of this disinformation campaign himself, and he's like, oh, I keep hearing about trans inmates in prison, and so this must be the thing that everybody's talking about in politics. This must be what this election is a referendum on.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think his friend group, he's surrounded by edgy right-wing comedians who think just offending people is comedy, basically. And you mix that with their weird obsession with free speech, where they built this idea in their mind that it's only censorious college lefties who crack down on free speech. Not like Trump or anything is super censorious and authoritarian. Never that, of course.
Right.
But you immerse yourself in that world. You're surrounded by right-wing voices all the time. And then, he's mega wealthy, and he's surrounded by UFC fighters who are pro-Trump, surrounded by wealthy business people who are pro-Trump, celebrities who are pro-Trump. He sort of cocooned himself in this right-wing echo chamber. And then I think eventually over time it became he's more the perpetrator than the victim. But he started out as a victim. And then now it's very clear he's just thrown his lot in with MAGA. And the same way he has his conservative comedian friend group and they all look out for each other. Now I think that tent has broadened to now I also look out for J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and Republican politicians. But at the end of the day, however he got there, it's almost irrelevant to me because he's become a massive purveyor of misinformation and disinformation and the dumbest ideas I've ever heard. And he's dragging young, impressionable men down a path to support a politics that's going to lower their wages, give them worse health care, lead to more jobs being outsourced, destroy the regulatory state completely, lead to more wars. And that's why I've been on that war path lately. I mean, I'm sure you know, but one of the biggest things that I talk about all the time is it drove me crazy that there was this perception among MAGA that Trump is anti-war.
Yeah.
That's never been true. It's never been close to true. You can really see where Kyle Kulinski and Brian Tyler Cohen are coming from. Joe Rogan didn't just drift right by accident. He's been swimming in a sea of MAGA voices, anti-vax nonsense, and conspiracy hype for years. The shift didn't happen overnight. This is a guy who went from Bigfoot and aliens to pushing anti-vaccine rhetoric and acting like Trump is the voice of reason. And when Kyle says he started as a victim and became a full-on player in this machine, he's right. Rogan didn't just get influenced, he became the influencer. He's repeating the same disinformation playbook you hear from Trump or any hardcore MAGA voice. And the real danger? His platform. Joe Rogan has a massive audience, and a lot of them, especially young men, trust him more than actual experts. So when he spreads half-truths about COVID or paints the far right as just being real, it sticks. Kyle Kulinski and Brian Tyler Cohen are hitting the exact nerve here. It's not just about politics. It's about how one of the most powerful voices in media is selling the illusion that Trump and MAGA are somehow anti-establishment heroes. That's the scam. And Joe Rogan's helping sell it.
He's gone around this entire campaign. He was going around talking about war with Mexico and war with Iran. He told Israel to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. Like, at some point, the information and the facts have to actually matter. His first term has to matter. The stuff he's saying on the campaign trail has to matter. But MAGA got it in their head that, no, somehow he's anti-war and Kamala Harris is the war hawk because Liz Cheney endorsed her. And it just drives me crazy, man.
Well, the crazy part about that, I spoke to Cenk a few weeks ago, and he basically said, I asked him, I was like, what's your red line where you're going to stop giving basically the MAGA universe the benefit of the doubt? This idea that, okay, they are supportive of him because of like policy, as opposed to what I think it is just because he says jump, they say how high. All of the principles are malleable, and whatever he wants them, like, it can, whatever way the wind blows, you know, he'll change, and then all these people will go along with him. He said that exact thing. He said that they are anti-war, and that's my red line, and I'll stop giving them the benefit of the doubt once we see Trump engage in some hawkish behavior, and they don't abandon him. He hasn't even taken office yet. And right now, he's been threatening war with like Denmark to be able to annex Greenland, threatening war with Panama, and like expressly came out and said, this isn't, you know, we're going to keep all options on the table, military and economic. And so, like, this idea, even before he's in office, he's already undermining the very thing that all of these Republicans are putting themselves out on a limb for, which is this idea, again, to your exact point, that he's the guy that's going to keep us out of war. He's going to be the pro-peace candidate. He's going to be the one to keep all of the money inside the United States and not worry about foreign wars. And, like, what do you think that Mexico, Canada, Greenland, Denmark, Panama are all just going to roll over and say, yeah, go ahead, annex our territory?
And that's the thing. You're hitting the nail on the head. They already failed the test, Cenk.
Right,
they already So forget everything you said, which was very recent and stuff he's saying, etc., which I totally agree with.
Yeah.
But in the first term, Trump increased drone strikes over 400%. He kept us in Iraq. He kept us in Afghanistan. There was a massive increase, 330% increase in civilian deaths in Afghanistan under Trump. He bombed Syria twice. He bombed Somalia. He said we're occupying a third of Syria to, quote, take the oil. He increased the Pentagon budget every single year. He tried to do a coup against Venezuela. He ripped up the Iran agreement. I mean, I can go on here, but but the point is, so if being anti-war, if he crosses that line, we'll abandon him. Well, then you should have abandoned him in 2016, 2017.
Right. That ship has sailed already.
What's wild is that Joe Rogan still gets framed as this common sense guy, when in reality he's been echoing Donald Trump's rhetoric word for word. It's not just a shift, it's full alignment. And Kyle Kulinski and Brian Tyler Cohen are right to call it what it is, propaganda wrapped in podcast banter. Joe Rogan isn't questioning power anymore, he's protecting it. Trump threatens war with multiple countries, floats absurd ideas, and suddenly it's framed as bold or brave. MAGA doesn't care about consistency, it's obedience over principles, and Rogan's helping them sell it as rebellion. The bigger issue? This isn't just political talk, it shapes how people vote, how they think, what they trust. And with someone like Joe Rogan repeating Trump's spin to millions, that's not just a bad take, that's dangerous. But what do you think? Is Joe Rogan just misled, or is he part of the machine now? Do you think MAGA would ever hold Trump accountable, or is it just blind loyalty at this point? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you're into this kind of breakdown, and subscribe for more. I've got more coming, and I'll catch you in the next one.